Welcome back. So now that we can actually authenticate and actually hash a password, let's try and actually see if this works now in our system. So step one is going to be making this public available so that from the outside I can now start hashing passwords in my system. So what I want to do is I want to jump into my iSecurity service right here, the interface, and I just want to add this new method right here as a public method that I can then use. And that means in the security service now we need to make the private method down here public instead, so that people from the outside can start using it. So let's just make that public. There we go. Now we have that available. And that means now if we go into our seeder, we can actually now start using the security service in the seeder as well. So we'll just go into the seeder right here. I'll do a comma, and I want to start using the iSecurity service here as well. So let's just make a security service. Let's do a small introduction of a security variable right here. And then I can use this now to, instead of generating a hash password like this, I can actually generate it using a salt. So let's just create a small salt field right here. And for now, let's just make the salt something simple. 123 hash not. There we go. That's just going to be my salt for now. Actually, the salt is going to be generated with another algorithm for a real user in the end system. But for now, let's just keep it simple like this. And I'll just add the salt to the user right here. And the salt will be the salt we just generated. Now with the salt in place and the security service available, what we can do is we can call security service here. Security, let's just do a space security service dot, and we can actually hash the password now using two things. First, we need, of course, the password we want to hash, and let's just keep it again 1234556. The second thing we want to do is we want to get bytes right here from our string, and this time we just want to get the salt right here that we just created to kind of get those bytes. And let's just end the parentheses right there. Now I'm going to put this in 2 lines so you guys can see it better. So now with our get hashed value right here, what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a hashed password that we can store in the database with the password of 123456. That means that this is my new password for this user right here, and then I can get the bytes from the salt to kind of generate a password. Now we're going to use the same thing later in order to actually create users in our database actually. So this is just a way for us to kind of see that in action right here. Now it seems we have one more issue right here before we can end it. It seems that our startup file is failing right now, and the reason is that of course now since I said it needs to use the security service from the outside when we create this class, I also need to pass it in, and I'll just make a quick fix right here, and then after the video is over I'll just make this in a different way so that we can dependency inject this instead of actually manually injecting it right here to the seeder. But for now this is fine. We just need to kind of do dependency injection right here to use that seeder and send that security service into the seeder. Let's just try and save that and just run the debugger now, or actually just run the application and see if we now have our first real user in the database with a hashed password actually, and if we can still log in with this setup right here. Let's jump into Swagger and see how things are working now. First of all, I need to make sure that I'm actually logged out. There we go. Next, I want to kind of just do a login right here with the right user, and notice again the password in plain text is still the same. The only difference is that now behind the scenes it's being hashed in the database. So let's see if we can log in, and there we go. We get a token back, so at least it seems that we authenticated correctly. And let's just authorize right here and write bearer like this and just paste in there we go, we needed an R right there, and just paste in this and try to authorize and see if the token still works as expected. I'll execute the add product, and there we go, we get our products back. And just to be sure that we didn't make it completely useless now, let's just try and log in again now with a bad password, and hopefully now we get back the password is incorrect. So now we have this running with an actual hashed password in our system, and there we go. And we can actually even check this to be sure if we go back and just close this and run with a debugger instead. Let's just try that as the final thing, just to make sure that we actually do hash our password. I'll just restart as debug mode. I'll just put a breakpoint right here in the security service, and I'll just try and do that with the right password one final time, just for the fun of it. Hopefully I hit the breakpoint now, and you can see the plain text being hashed into this weird value instead of actually just being plain text password using our hash password value. Happy days. We just made hashed passwords with salt, and everything is still running. We even used it to kind of use some data, so now we actually have a login system for our user where we can authenticate the user. Next step will probably be looking at permissions, but before we do that, I think it's time to jump to some front-end code and actually start making some authentication login system in Angular. So see you next time. Bye.